from the jungles of Burma to the snow of the Imjin, from the bocage of Normandy to the streets of Belfast and the mountains of the Falklands. For over 50 years, one light machine gun gave British infantry the steadiest base of fire in the world. A weapon designed in a Czech factory, built in an Enfield workshop, and still being carried by frontline soldiers more than 90 years after it left the drawing board. Born between two world wars, blooded across half the planet, and stubbornly refusing to leave the stage long after it was supposed to. Today, the story of the gun the British Army cannot kill. The BREN. By the late 1920s, the British infantry section had a problem. The Lewis gun had served honourably through the First World War, but it was heavy, complicated, and reaching the end of its life. The army wanted something modern, a proper light machine gun a single soldier could carry, fire from the shoulder or a bipod, and feed from a box magazine. So, they did what the British do best. They held a competition, dragged it out for the best part of a decade, and tested everything that moved. The BAR, the Madsen, the Vickers Berthier, the French Chatelerol. Every serious contender of the era got a look in. And then in 1930, a Czech design walked onto the range called the ZB-26, and as one trials report put it, the testers' mustaches very nearly twitched off their faces. The British loved it. They asked for a few tweaks. Chamber it in .303, give it a 30-round magazine, move the gas port back a bit. The Czechs obliged. The license was signed in 1935, production started at the Royal Small Arms Factory in Enfield, and the gun took its name from the two cities that built it, Brno and Enfield. The BREN. What made it special? Bloody near everything, really. The BREN ran a tilting bolt, a long-stroke gas piston, and the same trick the SLR would later use, an adjustable gas regulator with 4 settings, sand in the action, fouling in the barrel, freezing conditions in the Ardennes. No problem. You could open the gas tap a little wider and the gun would keep on running. The curved 30-round magazine sat on top of the receiver. That gave the gunner a flat low profile in the prone, let gravity help with the feed, and meant a number 2 could swap mags in the dark without fumbling. The barrel changed in under 5 seconds. A trained number 2 could keep the gun firing through a battle with a stack of preloaded mags and a spare barrel cooling on a webbing pouch beside him. And the accuracy was almost embarrassing. A standard infantryman could hold a fist-sized group at 300 yards. There are documented cases of BREN gunners in Italy and Brno using single-shot mode to take out enemy snipers at ranges that should have needed a sniper rifle. Try carrying 9.5 kilos of forged steel and walnut up a Welsh hill in driving rain and tell me you don't want a BREN next to you when you get to the top. March 1944. Imphial and Kohima on the India-Burma border. The Japanese 15th Army has crossed the Chinwin, determined to break into India and finish the war in their favour. What they get instead is the largest defeat in the history of the Imperial Japanese Army. In a battle the official historian called Britain's Stalingrad, British and Indian infantry held a perimeter the size of a tennis court at Kohima Ridge for 2 weeks, against odds that should have wiped them out. The BREN held that perimeter, firing in short controlled bursts, swapping barrels in the monsoon mud, feeding from those 30-round mags one after another. The section guns took the weight of the Japanese assault night after night. When the relief column finally fought its way through, the gunners' positions were ringed with spent .303 brass, and the bodies of an entire division that had broken on a handful of British sections and their light machine guns. The BREN did not win Kohima on its own, but ask any survivor of the 4th Royal West Kents what kept them alive on that ridge, and the answer comes back the same. By 1958, the BREN should have been finished. The army adopted the L7 GPMG, a belt-fed beast firing the new 7.62 NATO round, and on paper, that was that. The light machine gun era was over. The general-purpose machine gun would do everything. So they rebarreled the BREN in 7.62, called it the L4, and kept issuing it. It served in Aden, through the long jungle confrontation in Borneo, and across 3 decades of patrols and ambushes in Northern Ireland. The L4 stayed in the section, while the L7 took over the sustained fire role, because the BREN did one thing the GPMG never could. It weighed half as much, and you could fire it on the move. And here's where the dark bit starts. The official line is that the BREN left frontline British service in the early 1990s when the LSW arrived. Job done, end of an era. Except it wasn't. The LSW, the SA-80 variant designed to replace the BREN in the light support role, was a disaster. Inaccurate beyond 200 yards, jam-prone, hated by every section commander who was forced to carry one. The kind of weapon that gets quietly left in the armory when a serious task comes up. So when British forces went to Iraq and Afghanistan, somewhere in the supply chain, somebody was making a phone call. BREN guns started reappearing in Afghan National Army hands, in Iraqi tribal militia photographs, in Yemen, in Syria, in Libya. Reservists. Second-line units and entire Allied armies kept the gun in service because nothing they were issued worked as well. India was still manufacturing their own Ishapur 1 billion variant into the 2010s. The Irish Defence Forces only retired theirs in 2006, and Canadian Rangers were carrying BRENs on Arctic patrol when the SA-80 was already on its second rebuild. The dark reason the BREN refuses to die is the same reason the SLR is still missed and the Enfield turns up in mountain ambushes 90 years after it left the line. Nothing the modern military-industrial complex has built to replace it has actually been better. Cheaper, lighter, more politically convenient, easier to mass-produce? Yes. Better in the hands of a tired soldier in a bad place? No. A Czech design, anglicised in a factory in Enfield, fed through a curved magazine that hasn't been improved on in 9 decades, and still putting rounds on target in 3 continents in the year of our Lord 2025. That is not a museum piece sitting under glass, that is an indictment of every replacement Whitehall has signed off on since. If you enjoyed this video, I'd love it if you'd hit like, subscribe, and if you want the other half of this story, the British rifle that was loved just as much and got pensioned off anyway, check out the SLR video here for more great firearm content.